Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and again I'm a bit obsessed with Nat's collage papers from Natalie May Scrapbooking. These are available on my website, so if you head to www.artjournallove.com and go to my shop, there is a category in there for Natalie May Scrapbooking. You can find them in there and I will ship anywhere. So these collage papers are fabulous. As you know, if you follow me regularly, you can easily tear them using a water brush and you get that lovely soft line. So I decided I was going to use this collage paper and I wanted to make a double page spread in the large Dina Wakley craft journal. I'm using gel medium to stick this down. Now this is, don't come for me, this is Dina's ultra thick. It literally, because that was the only pot I could find. I need to grab a pot of her just ordinary gel medium, but this was the one that I had and it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so my reason for sticking this image right there, you might be thinking, what on earth, is that I'm going to extend her dress down and pull the colours out from, from the collage paper onto my page. So I always spend a bit of time looking at the collage image and finding colours that are going to match. So this is Fur from Dina Wakley. This is in that collage paper, although it doesn't look like it is. Then I'm going in with Marine. So I'm starting off and I'm going to build up the colours that I'm using on this skirt. Now I'm going with quite loose brush strokes. I want to create that feeling of the skirt moving. But as you know, I always say this, I'm not going for exact realism. I'm going for an idea of fabric and creating some light and dark and different colours. So I'm just kind of swooshing my brush around and trying to keep my brush strokes in the direction that the skirt would flow. Using a small flat brush from Dina Wakley. This is one of my favourites for, well, it has been for doing this kind of work. Using those painterly brush strokes, this is just so lovely. Here I'm using sage, and I'm adding some highlights now. And you can see I'm just kind of smooshing them with my finger a little bit just to create a bit more softness. So I'm taking my inspiration from what is already there, looking at the top and how the colours work there. So I've worked dark to light, kind of, although I did go black on top of the marine, I realised that. I don't really have a plan when I start doing things like this. I just start adding layers of colour. Now I'm going in with, that looks like, I'm not really sure what that is actually. I don't think it's olive. Don't think it was sage. Apologies, I'm not sure what that last colour was, but this is definitely sage again. So just adding in more highlights, and then I decided I would bring my brush strokes up onto the top of the dress just so that it kind of matched and it felt a bit more cohesive. So now I'm going to move on to matching the colours on this sort of fiery part of the collage paper, and I'm wanting to make that a little bit larger. So I'm starting off with lemon. Oh, I haven't added any gesso onto my page either, so I'm just working straight onto the page as it is. And as you know, with these craft pages, they're thirsty. They do soak up some of the paint, but the more you layer, the better it gets. So yeah, this is mustard and lemon, and I'm going to be using tangerine, and I'm just looking at building those layers of colour and I'm pulling them out onto my page so that it creates that feeling of that glow that's kind of hinted at on the collage paper. So one thing I always do when I'm trying to blend a collage paper into my page is bring my brush strokes over onto the collage paper, and that way it kind of makes it make a little bit more sense. This is syrup, and here I'm just pulling that across as well. So I'm going to go in and do more blending, but this is like my starting point really. This is Cocoa, also from Dina Wakley, and although this is sped up, I was working quite fast when I did this. Definitely not as fast as the video suggests, but I was working quite quickly. I find that when I'm doing stuff like this, the faster I work, the less likely I am to overthink what I'm doing. So just adding that little bit of speed into your work, it means you're more likely to be intuitive and just kind of crack on. So then this is, I think that looks like night, not black, that I've used for the darker parts of my collage paper. And I'm just pulling that down into that bottom corner as well. That's just going to help that glowy part pop a bit more. Yeah, and I'm just pulling some strokes over onto the cocoa colour that I added as well. And I'm just going to pull that all the way around onto the left hand side of my page, and you can see quite quickly I've filled in the page, taking my inspiration from the colours that are already there. Pretty sure whatever make of paints you've got, you'll be able to find these colours in there and or mix them yourself, and that can be quite fun. It's a nice challenge. So you notice here I've left the top of her head. That's because her head isn't flat and the top of her head is missing, so I'm going to add in the hair at the top in a bit. Just going in with a bit of white at the very centre of that glow. I just want to make that feel really hot and fiery. So just adding that white just kind of lifts the yellow and brightens it even more. That's a great way to just kind of make that pop a bit more. Okay, so now I am going in with a lighter colour over the top of that dark. You can't really see it on the camera, the light is reflecting off it, but there were some brush strokes on the collage paper already that were a slightly lighter colour, and I just wanted to kind of bring those in as well. A lot of the time what I'll do is I'll use the colour that I started off with and just keep adding touches of white or black or like a dark blue to make lighter shades or darker shades of the same colour, and then that way your colours will play really nicely together. So here I'm just adding in the top of her head. It's going to look a bit odd at the minute, but once I've added some marks onto her hair and pulled that out onto my page, it will all start to make a bit more sense. Okay, so now I've got that in place. Then I'm doing a bit of stenciling. I just wanted to bring some marks onto the nice sort of glowy part of my page. And although the only collage paper I've used on this page is the one from Nat, I had lots of fun just playing with colours and trying to colour match. So much so that actually I wasn't really that bothered about adding too much stenciling onto my page, but I used a metallic colour anyway, and then I decided I didn't want to do any more, so I left it. I've grabbed a Stabilo all pencil and I'm just adding some marks of movement onto the skirt and just outlining that top a little bit, and then I'm just softening those marks using a water brush. I really need to get myself a new water brush, it's getting a little bit scruffy. And then I've grabbed a white scribble stick just to start adding some of those hair strands back onto my image. Oh, and here I am going in with a stencil. So that looks like that green again. And for the life of me, I can't think what it is. If you know, feel free to put in the comments below what it is. Yeah, I quite like that text stenciling. However, saying that, I do think the page would have worked without. I'm now bringing in a bit of white stamping using one of my very old Stampers Anonymous text stamps, dipping it in some Posca pen that I've primed onto my page. I just want to bring a bit more contrast onto my page as well. But I'm really loving how this has worked. And obviously, she's got a massive skirt, but does it matter? No, we're not going for realism. We're just having fun, moving our hands, you know, matching colours, just playing, really. I'm also using a brown Stabilo all pencil just to bring some different shades into the hair. I'm just wanting to try and kind of pull this all together. So then I decided I would write my quote using a white Posca pen because I thought that would pop really nicely on my page with those dark colours in the background. And I found a quote that kind of worked with the image. Like, yeah, sometimes things that we go through feel like we've been put through the hottest of fires, but it's how it refines us, I guess. And there we go. So then I was sent some alphabet stamps from Nat. These are fabulous. I've cut them up individually and popped like a little tab on them using washi tape so that I can stamp them without getting too covered in ink, because sometimes I'm quite messy. I'm quite messy when it comes to stamping. I'm A, not very good at it, and B, not very clean when I'm doing it. So this really helps. And this is archival ink that I'm using, just because it's my favourite when it comes to using black ink. And I'm stamping them onto white card. My thinking here was that I was going to have a play with these stamps and put them at the bottom left hand corner over her dress. And once I've got them cut out, I'm also going to add some colour onto them, and you will see that in a minute. So I'm cutting them into really tight rectangles around those letters. I don't want these to be any bigger than they need to be. I'm just going to add a little bit of interest on that bottom corner. And then I'm bringing in some of the colours that are from that glow that I've created on my page and just adding them at the bottom of the letter. And it almost gives them like a see-through effect. You could almost imagine that they were cutouts. Quite a fun thing to do. So then I'm going to stick them onto my page using some white PVA glue, give it a good dry. I think I've gone in with some white splatters as well, of course. And there it is. So this is a really fun way to play with matching colours, making that collage paper feel like it was on your page all along. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.